back, everyone, to the A.D.D show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans. And welcome back, everyone. We probably have the A.D.D show MVP here with us today. We'll introduce him once again later. In sports news, James Harden wants to trade to the 76ers. Jalen Hurts is going to be replacing Carson Wentz as the Eagles quarterback going forward. Michigan and Ohio State is also canceled for this weekend. Notable college football games this weekend: Alabama at Arkansas. Number 1 Alabama at Arkansas. Number 8 Georgia at Mizzou. Number 11 Oklahoma at West Virginia. Illinois at number 14 Northwestern. Number 17 North Carolina at 10 Miami. Purdue at number 12 Indiana. Number 16 Wisconsin at number 19 Iowa. Number 22 Washington at number 23 Oregon. LSU at number 6 Florida. Number 15 Oklahoma State at Baylor. And the big night game is number 20 USC at UCLA. So how we doing, Mark?
Good. You mentioned James Harden. We've been talking about that in the group. One of these days we're going to talk NBA again. We'll bring our friend Malik on, and hopefully Chandler, talk some NBA, talk some ball. But I think it's absolutely ridiculous that, you're going to trade me and you're going to trade me to this team. No, we own you. Like, I'm sorry, it sounds very wrong to say that they own them, but you signed a contract. They have your rights.
If I had a player who wanted out of his contract like that and said, I only want to be traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, I would purposely trade him to the Phoenix Suns because the Suns gave me a better offer.
I wouldn't even give him that good of a client. I'd trade him to Portland or Sacramento or.
Well, Portland's better than the Suns, right?
Not this year. They won't be. But it's a big thing that we've been talking about. Like, I get you want to request a trade. I get it, but at the same time, you can't tell me who I'm going to trade you to. You can't.
No.
Like, you want to be traded? Fine. I'm going to get the best deal I can for you, and you're going to go where I send you.
Yep.
That's because you signed a contract with me. I get to do, it's...
I own your rights.
Right. So, but that being said, guest today is Nate. Nate, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, fellas. Thanks for having me back yet again.
No, not
always,
a problem. We'll have you on whenever you want to. The reason why I asked you yesterday if you wanted to be on was that big win yesterday. Washington went into the game seeing the Giants beat the Seahawks, which is a huge win for the Giants.
Big win.
And everybody was like, wow. Because we were talking about Washington, has an easier schedule. The Giants have a tougher schedule, and the Giants may have a major upset over Seattle. But then Washington comes out, and they get punched in the mouth in the first half, and you're like, wow, they're in trouble. And then they just do what Washington's been doing all year, punching you until you come through. I'm going to let you talk in a minute, Nate, but I think Washington has an uphill battle because I do believe they lost to the Giants twice this year, didn't they?
Yep.
Washington has to win out if I'm right.
Well, the Giants can't lose.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, Washington has to beat up a game in order to win the division on the Giants, and the Giants can be tied and win the division.
If they both win out, the Giants still get it at the moment.
Right.
So
both had big wins. I know people are saying that the Steelers have had a rough month with this whole Baltimore fiasco. I say yes because NFL players are on a routine, but you're playing a game. You knew this game was going to be played Monday night. You knew you were going to be on a short week. Like, you knew what you had to do, and Washington came out and did what they had to do, which was play almost flawless game to beat Pittsburgh, and they did. To their credit, they did. Their defense stepped up. The offense couldn't run the ball from what I saw. I didn't see the game live. I was watching it on my phone.
No, they had a tough time running the ball.
But Alex Smith threw the ball, and Logan Thomas had a breakout game. And if I was you, I'd be excited about this game and about that win. What do you think?
So, I haven't really stopped dancing all day. This is just something that in my lifetime, the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins, I like to call them the Who's or What's It's now. They haven't done this. They haven't won a big game. They haven't won a Monday night football game. Kirk Cousins got his first Monday night football win this season, and he was our quarterback for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's absurd to me that it took this long to get here, but I said it from the first time you guys had me on the podcast, and I'll keep saying it now. We have the right people in place. Ron Rivera is a hell of a football coach. If you look at what he did in Carolina, every time they had a massive overhaul or they had some adjusting or they had a change, they were slow starting. But the last 2 months of the season, they played lights out football. And, I mean, we're 4-2 in our last 6 games. We have the best record in our last 6 games up against any of our upcoming opponents, which includes Seattle. And, I think that the Washington football team is in a great spot. And the crazy thing about this is the Giants and the Washington football team are both 5-7. And people were talking about the NFC East is going to be the worst division winner of all time. We might get 2 teams in the playoffs. I wouldn't want to play either of these teams right now.
No.
I mean, the Giants' defense they're playing out of their league, and everybody knows what Washington's defense is. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at their stats right now on my laptop, where there's only one statistical category that they keep track of on defense that we are not top 10, and that's run per play. We're 11th. We're the number one red zone defense, and we proved that last night. Look what Chase Young did for the second time this season. Single-handedly saved the touchdown. He did it against Joe Burrow, and he did it last night against Benny Snell. I'm just ecstatic about this.
It's like one thing that I want to say for both teams is Joe Judge came out of nowhere to become the Giants head coach. And somebody on ESPN, I can't remember who said it, Joe Judge is what the Lions hoped Matt Patricia was going to be.
100%.
He came in, he told them this was how it's going to be. This is a new rule. This is a new way. Like, we are done being the perennial losers. They go out and they lose their first 5 games. They lost their first 5 games. They're 5-2 in the last 7. They're playing really well, and they're playing without their best player. They're playing without big names on defense. Like I think Williams is a defensive lineman on their team.
Used to play for the Jets.
I can't really name very many people on their defense that is something that pops out. Like, you can name players on Washington's defense. And just you have Colt McCoy coming in and no Saquon Barkley, and you go out and you beat one of the best teams in the NFC in Seattle, and you beat them handily. Like, it wasn't like you needed, help. Like, you beat them handily.
And that's why
in Seattle.
Yeah, and that's why for me, I saw when I heard Colt McCoy was starting, I almost got a little bit excited for the Giants because he played like a quarterback should for the Giants. He didn't play that bad.
No, he only threw for 100 yards.
I know.
I think it was like 102.
But he wasn't the reason they lost. He didn't do anything bad enough to make them lose the game.
No.
The fact is for the next 5 games, let's say Daniel Jones is healthy. I don't trust them to win this division with Daniel Jones.
But before today, he was 4-2.
I understand.
I mean, like, so like the Daniel Jones argument, I get it. Like, he's not, but he isn't the reason why they're losing games right now. They're winning games
right now. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
No, I agree with you.
I trust Alex Smith more than I trust Daniel Jones.
A hell of a lot more.
So I'll go there with you and everything. But it's...
No, I don't think Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback. I'm just saying if it comes down to like what we were talking about with the division. Good. No, I'm trusting Alex Smith because Alex Smith does one thing well he's done his whole career. I don't think he's done anything overly spectacular. He's had a couple great moments. He doesn't lose you games. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's a smart as hell quarterback. And I just see a difference with Alex Smith and the Washington football team yesterday that I don't think the Giants are going to keep up for the rest of the year. Okay. That's just me. But that doesn't mean the Giants aren't been blowing teams. Like, they've been doing great the past couple weeks.
Right.
But again, what Daniel Jones do you get every week? It's hard to tell.
Right. So remaining schedule: Washington has 49ers, Seahawks, Panthers, and Eagles. Okay. We said a couple weeks ago. I think the 3 of us were talking. We said Washington was going to go 4-2 in the last 6 games. And that was when we were talking Thanksgiving Day.
Yep.
And then the Giants have the Cardinals, the Browns, the Ravens, and the Cowboys. On paper, Washington has a better schedule.
Yeah.
But if you look deeply at that Giants schedule, what Cardinals team is going to show up, and
point.
what Ravens team is going to show up.
Again, you don't even know what Ravens team's going to show up tonight. Right. That's the thing. So it may be they both have easy schedules going forwards, and if you look at it with Washington, Panthers, I mean, they could pull out a win. They could. It's almost coming to the point now where both schedules are almost evening themselves out.
I can easily see the Cowboys going 2-2, and
you mean the Giants?
The Giants, yes. Sorry, and Washington going 3-1.
Yeah, I see that's more likely to me. And I see Washington having that one game up by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, Nate, how you feel about the Cardinals and the Ravens and the Browns. I mean, that's the next 3 games are very tough for the Giants.
Yeah, the thing is like Han said, with the Cardinals, you never know what team you're going to get with them. I mean, is DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray going to link up? Is Kenyon Drake going to rush for 100 yards and multiple touchdowns? Or is he going to rush for 30 yards and get 1 touchdown? And you never really know. Their defense is spotty. They give up big play after big play. And that's one good thing Daniel Jones does is he's able to find someone like Slayton who slips through coverage because he's so fast, deep. I've been really impressed with Wayne Gallman, to be honest with you. And I even brought it up in the group chat the other day. I was like, what do you even think that the Giants could get for Saquon? I know that you don't really trade an asset like that, but I mean, what would you be able to get back for him if you got Wayne Gallman playing well? There's going to be free agent running backs as well. I mean, that's just a massive asset. And Saquon's been nothing but hurt.
Did Saquon get paid yet?
No.
He's still on his rookie deal, so that's also better. You're not trying to move that contract.
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could get a couple firsts for, skill set alone, and if he goes to the right team.
I mean, let's just hypothetically talk since we have the time. Let's hypothetically talk. Let's say Giants are doing a trade with something like Miami with 3 first-round picks. You think he could get 2 of those 3?
Potentially. I think Miami would be stupid to trade that for Saquon, but potentially, yeah.
Potentially, you could.
But I'm just using an example, because if you look at, honestly, when it comes to Dolphins, a really good perennial top 5-6 running back would really help them out.
But he's going to be in year 4?
Yeah.
So he's going to be in year 4. If you're trading...
You're basically getting a 2-year rental, and then you decide if you want to sign him.
I almost say you have to get that extension before you trade for him. Or like you say, we'll trade for him as long as he extends. And at this point, you're not extending him at max running back money because he's not on the field.
He's never produced but 1 year at max running back money, honestly.
He had that 1 year.
That's what I meant, one really good year.
He's in what you like to say the Wentz category where he just can't stay on the field.
That's the thing. And you get paid by staying on the field.
I mean, if you... to get back to your question, Mark, I mean, looking at the Giants' schedule, I wouldn't want to play the Browns right now.
No.
I mean, Baker Mayfield is on absolute fire right now. Their defense is playing out of its mind. Their running back tandem, and they even used a trio on Sunday. I mean, they had that other guy back there. I think his last name's Johnson. I mean, the Browns are a team I wouldn't want to play. And if you look at Washington's schedule, you get San Fran, who's beat up. Their quarterback, Mullins, is going to throw he's going to put up numbers. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's going to throw interceptions.
Yes.
They're going to be there. And Washington has the 8th highest interception rate in the NFL. They do. I'm actually looking at it right in front of me now. And I just think that if you look at the schedules, I'm not saying Washington's going to win out. I think that would be unrealistic. The last time that happened was 2012, and no one expected it to win 10-6. But if there was a team to do it, this is the team. I mean, think about it. They're all playing well. And I know we talked about Haskins on that one episode, a couple months back. But the best thing about Alex Smith is not the fact that he's winning or playing well or anything like that. He's allowing the coaches to properly evaluate the talent that they have because he's not making mistakes and he's putting the ball where it needs to be. And that's something that you couldn't find with Haskins. And I know you mentioned like Logan Thomas's coming out party. He had 9 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Like, great game. The best play of the game that he had was recovering that fumble that T.J. Watt stripped from McKissick.
Yeah.
I mean, that right there saved us the game. And you look at someone like Cam Sims, who's really turned it on. He's been what we like to call in this area a training camp superstar, but he's never produced. And he's finally getting an opportunity. He's starting to understand. You saw the one-handed catch last night. I mean, you're starting to see he's a great blocker. I really like the fact that, Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson combined for 4 touches. And we still won the game, and other people were producing. I know Gibson got hurt. Hopefully he's healthy. But you look at what we did in the offseason. We brought in Thomas. Everybody was like, that's not a good signing. Brought in McKissick. Why would you do that? He's a nobody. Well, I think that you're starting to see that Scott Turner's offense is built a certain way. And when it's run properly, the right kind of person isn't your stereotypical NFL player. It's a unique offense, and I think that it's really, really benefiting the style that we're trying to play right now.
And I think it sets up for what I was about to say about Alex Smith, which is he doesn't care. I said a couple weeks ago, it makes me laugh when I say it. He's a professional quarterback, meaning he's not looking at the superstar every time. He's not looking at McLaurin. He's not looking at that guy.
Yeah.
He is scanning the field. He sees it before it happens, and he's making other people make plays and be like Nate said, Sims. He's making him understand. Listen, the ball's going to come your way if you get open, or the ball's coming your way if the coverage is right. This is what I see. This is what I want, and you're going to get the ball. Well, and let's make the plays.
That's something I was agreeing with Nate that I wanted to get to was he mentioned the thing about Haskins. And what the difference is when Haskins was on the field those first couple weeks, they'd lose a game. And they lost a few games in there. When they lost a game, you evaluated your whole talent field. And you went and you started with Haskins, saying, Haskins, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. With Alex Smith, he may not be the future. Maybe he's next year's starter while you rebuild a new quarterback. Whatever it happens, they do. Mm-hmm. Alex Smith. When you sit down at that team meetings, you're like, Alex Smith, all right, man, good job. All right, the rest of you guys keep making – it almost gives you that safety net knowing you're not losing because of your quarterback right now. Yeah. Now you can evaluate all the other positions and find out where your weaknesses are. Mm-hmm. And overall, they're healthy. Overall, they're playing really freaking good. And overall, they're a team I wouldn't want to play in December. Yeah. It's not a team I want to play.
No, and I don't want to play them either. But Nate did mention the Giants have to play the Browns. We're going to talk if we want to talk more about Washington in a few minutes, but I wanted to get into the Browns because one thing Nate said was about Baker Mayfield. Did you guys watch the game on Sunday? Was that the game you guys watched?
I watched about half of it.
Okay.
I was watching Red Zone, so.
Yeah. Okay. All the announcers kept saying before the game started and right before the first drive started was, this is going to be a smash mouth game. Both teams are going to run it down your throat. Both teams are going to force the run. And so Tennessee prepared for the run. And you know what the Browns did? Play action the whole first half. And every single time you saw it, all of a sudden there was 8 guys in the box for Tennessee because they were scared of Chubb. They were scared of Hunt. Mm-hmm. And Baker Mayfield didn't lose the game. He played an unbelievable game. And one thing I saw out of Tennessee is they have no quit. They have no quit. They're not going to lay their heads down. I almost think they're a better team in that hurry up.
Yeah.
They can put up points, and they can put up points fast.
They put up a lot of points in a few minutes.
Right, and those 2 wide receivers are arguably one a top 10 tandem in the NFL right now. Brown and Davis. Is it Davis?
Davis. Top 5, top 10 tandem. I could see it. They're great.
So Tennessee, to their credit, came back. I mean, they were down 38-7, I think, in the first half.
Yeah.
But what the Browns did was they showed you, listen, don't forget we can beat you this way too. And there was no Odell, and he spread the ball around to all these different guys.
And that's what I was trying to explain the past few weeks. I've talked about Baker Mayfield. I don't need him to do what he did against the Titans. Take it one step down a little bit and do that every week. That's who we want you to be. He went out of his mind against the Titans.
That's who you want him to be. That's not who the Browns want him to be.
I understand that. But that's what I'm saying. That to me, I think that's the kind of quarterback with a little bit more consistency every week is going to get you that one step farther. If he plays like this or one step down, they're going to be absolute scary to play. It's just I just don't. Still, I've seen a couple too many games out of Baker where I'm like, Baker, that's not a good throw to make in your second, third year. And this was great for him. This was a fantastic game. And even if he doesn't play at this level for the rest of the year, a step or two down from this, it's still a really good game. He looked fantastic.
This is a team I don't want to play. No. If I'm the AFC and I look at the seed and they're a 5 seed because they're not going to win the division, which they're only 2 games back, 4 games to play.
They'd be playing the Bills right now.
Yeah, I don't want to play them.
No.
I really don't. Like,
No,
their
they'd be playing the
defense-
Dolphins right now. I'm
their
sorry.
defense is really good, and this running back tandem is something that the Browns are consistent on not allowing you to understand who's going to be in the backfield at any given time. I watched, and Chubb ran the ball 4 straight times, had like 40 yards, first down. Next thing you know, it's Hunt. And I'm like, what are you doing? And Chubb's just on the sidelines clapping. Like, he could have cared less. But at the end of the game, Chubb had 100 yards. Hunt had like 50-something yards, and then he received a few, 4 or 5 receptions. And, they both ended up with 18 to 20 carries. To me, this team is playing to their strengths, and they're not beating themselves right now.
And that's what's important.
I look at it and I say, okay, can this be sustained in a playoff game?
That's the pretender-contender argument that people make.
But I see there's 2 games on their schedule coming up that I want to see.
The Browns?
The Browns. There's 2 games. Okay. They have to play Pittsburgh and they have to play the Ravens. Okay, you may say, well, the Ravens aren't the Ravens right now. But it doesn't matter. Every time Cincinnati was winning the division or fighting for the playoffs, they had to play Pittsburgh and the Ravens. And it was always a battle. They always lost to Pittsburgh, and then they always split with the Ravens.
It's one of those.
So if they can win one of those 2 games, I'm not saying win them both, but one of those 2 games, they'll actually prove to me they can take that step.
The AFC North and the NFC East have a lot in common where if you got a good record, you better hope you don't have one of your division rivals last week of the year.
Well, that's why I'm scared. The Giants have to play the Cowboys
at the last game of the year, and let's say they need that one game to be up on Washington. That's the game Dallas is going to win for the rest of the year. The only game, right? So, no, I agree with you. The Browns, to me, are playing lights out at the moment. The last few weeks, they've been really good. Baker's been impressing me. It's just, that's the Baker I want every week. I don't get nervous. Like, I'm more on him now than I was Josh Allen. Like, I'm on the Baker train a little bit. He's doing well. Let's hope he keeps it up. I just don't want him to have a week where he's Josh Allen. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right. Nate?
So, I mean, if you look at both the Browns and the Steelers' schedule coming up, right? The Browns play Baltimore, then they play the Giants, the Jets, and the Steelers. So, Baltimore is always going to be a tough game, like you mentioned, Mark. I don't want to play the Giants right now, but the Browns are the kind of team that can play the Giants because they have that 2 running back system. I mean, one of the touchdown throws that Baker Mayfield had, the 75-yarder, it was a one-man route. They stacked the box, 2 tight ends, a fullback and running back. It was one of the best play-action fakes I've ever seen by any quarterback ever. I got faked, and then Baker threw it 50 yards downfield to a wide-open rookie who's a speedster. I mean, and then they play the Steelers, whereas the Steelers have the Bills, Cincinnati, the Colts, and the Browns. This could honestly come down to a division race.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Browns beat Baltimore, then they beat the Giants. I don't think that the Jets are going to beat them. And then you got the Pittsburgh playing the Bills. I don't know that I'd want to play the Bills right now. Cincinnati, I mean, I know you're a fan, Mark, but let's be real. And the Colts. The Colts are a tough out. The Colts defense is no joke. And then they play each other week 17. I still think Pittsburgh's going to win the division. I think Cleveland is the last team I'd want to play in the playoffs. They're one of the best 4 seeds. Honestly, I mean, if the playoffs ended right now, they'd be playing Tennessee again. The other team, to me, though, that needs to be talked about in this mix is, and this is what worries me about Cleveland, is they have a minus 15-point differential.
Okay.
So, every other team that's in the playoffs right now has a positive point differential in the AFC. And we're talking like the next closest is the Bills at plus 0.7. So, like, these teams are all playing very, very well. The team that's I just can't seem to understand at all is New England. I mean,
yeah, we pegged them for dead when we talked to our friend Mike. We pegged them for dead. We said, Mike, are people jumping off the bridge? And it's funny you bring them up because before we called you and talked to you, I wrote down their remaining schedule, and this is where I think they're hurt. Okay, because they're battling with
the Bills.
Is it the Bills?
And the Dolphins.
So Bills, Dolphins, and you're looking at Indianapolis, the Raiders, Baltimore.
So the bottom 3 teams in the playoffs right now are Cleveland, Miami, and Indy.
Yep.
And the 3 looking in are the Raiders, Ravens, and Pats in that order.
Yeah.
The Patriots have the Rams, the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets.
I know. It's a gauntlet.
Now, I will say this Patriot team they're playing high school football. Like, does that make sense?
No,
Cam Newton threw for 69 yards last week. They won 45-0.
I know.
And he threw for 69 yards. He ran for 62. Okay, and then Harris ran for 80. Then you had some kid running a kick return back and catching a touchdown from Stidham.
They had a kick return, and they had 2 interceptions returned, one for a touchdown. One of them returned for 60-plus yards, and a fumble recovery from Eckler. They had 4 turnovers. Well, the Chargers had 4 turnovers, sorry. Yeah. And the Pats didn't have to do anything. They're like, oh, you're going to turn the ball over on the 20-yard line? And it's like, I'm just going to walk in. And then on top of that, when the Chargers ended up getting the ball back, their defense said, yeah, no. Rookie quarterback, You're getting shut down. And the Patriots played on defense exactly what they always do. And this is what the Patriots defense I wanted to see more of this year. They said, we don't need our offense to do this. We got this. Yeah. And look, they blew out the Chargers.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Nate, I want to ask you a question here because I saw a clip from Colin Cowherd. Okay, I do not like this man. Okay,
but him smoking the cigar.
He said something about the Patriots and about Bill Belichick that I was very interested in. He's like, eye test. Cam Newton's done. Cam Newton is not an NFL quarterback. I agree with him. You lose your best player in Tom Brady. You have no wide receivers to speak of. Okay, you have a running back by committee, but none of those running backs are very good. And then you have a defense where 8 players are sitting out because they didn't want to risk COVID. So you have 8 players, including your 3 captains on defense. And you have this team at 6-6 and playing like this. And no team, the Jets didn't lose to Kansas City 45-0. None of the best teams in the league have had a win like this.
Yeah.
Is Belichick proving that he is the best coach to ever coach in the NFL with the way he's coaching this team this year?
I mean, was it in question already, though?
Yeah, people were questioning it.
Okay.
Because they were saying they were saying what is the reason? Is it Brady or is it Belichick?
I think Belichick's a fantastic coach. It's great that he had Brady to help him out with all that, but it didn't have to be Brady. He still would have won Super Bowl rings with a quarterback. I don't think it had to be Brady. Brady helps, but Belichick's the mastermind behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the greatest sad story of all time in the NFL is Drew Bledsoe's career, because I think that Drew Bledsoe, the Patriots would have won. I mean, they just signed him to a 10-year deal.
Yep.
And I think that he would have won multiple Super Bowls.
Absolutely.
I think he was that good of a quarterback.
He was a good quarterback.
He was never the same after the injury.
No.
But I also think that New England's success was a combination of Tom Brady buying into the Belichick mentality and then taking it a step further. Tom Brady is an absolute insane human being. I mean, no one lives their life the way he does.
No.
No one is regimented or disciplined the way that he is. So I think that New England's success was a combination of the two. And I think that Tom Brady, if Tom Brady had never had Belichick, no one would know who Tom Brady is. But
that's fair.
Tom Brady also, in the last stretch of this Patriots dynasty, was more so the reason that they were winning, in my opinion. That comeback doesn't happen without Brady being lights out and demanding the best from his wide receivers. But talking about Belichick, I think that there's no doubt, there shouldn't be a doubt in anybody's mind that he's the greatest NFL coach of all time. Simply because he took Brady, who is a pick 199. People in New England will always remember it, and made him buy into a system and won with him, even though he had someone like Bledsoe who was coming back the next year off of injury. Mm-hmm. Belichick is not afraid to deal people, even when they're playing at their highest level. It's like he knows exactly what he can get out of a player, and he got it from them, and he's like, I can't get any more. I'm done with you. I'll ship you off for a 3rd and a 4th round pick. Now I'll turn those 2 picks into stars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that his development process, he's not the best at developing coaches, which we've all seen. However, you are seeing Vrabel and you are seeing Flores and now Judge start to flourish. But I just think that we're never going to see a Belichick again. I mean, Andy Reid has had imminent amounts of success in his career as a coach. And, I mean, he dominated the NFC East in the early 2000s. And
Only
that
one
team
Super
in 2008, had they not gotten injured in that Packers game, would have won the Super Bowl in my opinion. I just and he's never going to hold a candle to Belichick, which is saying something because he's starting a dynasty in KC right now.
He likes KFC. But like to piggyback on that, we all agree Andy Reid is a very good coach, correct? Like, no question. Sean Payton, a very good coach, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those teams that Sean Payton has coached, no losing seasons, has had that team contending for championships every year he's there. Only won one.
Yep.
Okay. You have
same with Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin. I think Tomlin's won. No, Tomlin's only won one too, isn't he?
Yep.
He's only won one Super Bowl, and he went to another AFC Championship game. But every other year, he's never made it to. I mean, he's only been to two AFC Championship games and won a Super Bowl in 10 years, and he's never had a losing season.
Yeah,
How do you do that? It seems like mathematically impossible.
And then Harbaugh's got 2 championships. Okay, but what I'm saying is it's damn hard. It doesn't matter who you have on your team.
It's not easy.
And it's so hard to win, let alone 2 Super Bowls like Harbaugh's done, or to get to the Super Bowl.
One Super Bowl. The Ravens organization has 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he wasn't their coach.
The coach who was the first coach.
Starts with a B.
Yep. I can't think of it, but I know who we're talking. Okay, so Harbaugh. So, I mean, the 3 or 4 best coaches in this generation right now only have 1 each. And
Belichick.
Belichick
Billick.
has 6 in this team. And I think this could be his best.
9.
And he's been to 9. Yeah, and I think this is his best coaching this year.
Mm-hmm. Proving what he's doing with such a dilapidated roster.
They beat the Ravens. They beat the Cardinals. They blew out the Chargers. I mean,
that was embarrassing. With that, I'm sorry.
It was bad.
That was embarrassing to what they did to the
yeah.
Chargers.
It was terrible.
This is crazy. They have a positive point differential, whereas Cleveland, who was up 38-7, has a negative point differential.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The Pats now, the Pats are 6-6 on the outside looking in. Okay, and need help. Like they need help.
Yeah.
The Vikings are 6-6, and they're the number 7 seed. And surprisingly, I don't think any of us. Like I think a few weeks ago we were saying the Vikings were one of the most disappointing teams in the league.
The Vikings have been clutching it the last couple of weeks.
You know, and
they're doing everything they need to do to make a run.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was a couple of weeks. It was the podcast I was on before the Thanksgiving episode. I told you guys, don't be surprised if Minnesota was 7-5 or 6-6 come week 13.
Yep. That Cowboys loss is going to come back to haunt them.
Probably.
It royally screwed them.
Yep, because they've got the Bucks, the Bears, the Saints, and the Lions left.
All teams that are above 500 or close to it.
Yep, and the Bears and the Lions are 5-7, but those are division games.
Yeah,
division games are different. Like
they count as 2 games,
right? And that's
I don't
why
think Chicago will win another game.
Me neither.
No,
to be
I don't
honest.
either.
But the Saints and the Bucks. The Bucks are going to be battling for the playoffs. Like this is an interesting game. If the Vikings beat the Bucks this week, the Vikings jump the Vikings jump the Bucks for playoff.
And
position.
even though the Bears may not win another game and the Lions aren't very good, it's still a division game, and those teams play harder during division games.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if the Bears are 0-12, 0-15. It didn't matter. When you play the Vikings, you play a rival. Just like with the DC, just like with DC back in the day, their only win that one year, or maybe it was Dallas. I don't know. I mean, I'm not that old.
No, Dallas beat us in '91. It was the only loss on our schedule.
That's what I thought was the only. That's what I thought.
So
and like
it's different in the NFC North. In these rivalries are different.
It is different,
but they're playing. Their defense is playing a lot better.
Yeah,
and Kirk Cousins isn't beating them.
Ball over.
Yeah, they're getting
getting turnovers. It's helping.
But one thing is like Nate said it earlier in the podcast to piggyback on what he said. Kirk Cousins won his first Monday Night Football game.
Is Kirk Cousins starting to play like a quarterback, like an Alex Smith, a professional right now?
He's playing like he knows what his job is.
Yeah.
And he's bought
not straying from the playbook. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do.
You know, and I think, and I said this earlier in the year, and you guys all really beat me up for it. And I understand why, because I said Jefferson is going to be a better version of Diggs. Okay, I said Jefferson was going to just piggyback where Diggs was, and everybody said no, he's not Diggs, he's not this, and I get that, but he's proving right now he's a top wide receiver in this league, not a top rookie, a top wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a monster.
And Kirk Cousins is finding him open all the time.
He's
and then
fast,
if
too.
you want to double team him, fine, you've got another really good wide receiver in Thielen to throw to. Cook is playing out of his mind. Okay, he's playing the way he's always been thought of to play.
Yep.
Last year he did the same thing, and this year he's only gotten better.
Yeah. It's almost like people are still on that injury honeymoon still.
Yeah,
forgetting that that was almost 2 years ago now.
Last game he had 30 carries.
I know.
And this team, they won the game, they did well, but 30 carries, and this is how they win. But those games are tough.
Yeah.
Those games are tough, and I also wrote down the Bucks have the Vikings, Falcons, Lions, Falcons. Okay, so even if the Bucks lose this game this week, I still see them going 3-0 the rest of the way.
I don't know, the Falcons be surprising some people with these wins they're getting.
The Falcons are not a team I'd want to play right now.
No, they're on a hot streak right now, dude.
Like, I just don't see them.
The Saints have their number. The Saints just straight up have their number.
Yeah.
They have them completely figured out. Sean Payton knows that offense. They got an interim head coach, but they kept the same OC. I mean,
Who did the Falcons beat up like 2 weeks ago?
That defense is not anything I'd want to play with. I was so wrong about the Saints, and I'll be the first to say that. But the Falcons, to me, they're a team that, like, they can put up 45 points and beat you 45-6 like they did the Raiders.
That's what it was.
Or they can put up 9 points and lose 28-9. I mean, I don't know. They have the best kicker in football, so there's that.
Can I make a point real quick? We'll go back to the Vikings. He had mentioned the Raiders, and that was the team the Falcons really blew out. And the Raiders almost losing to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still all on the Raiders train here?
No.
I say the Raiders are on the outside looking in.
They are.
But here's the thing. You've got Tennessee and the Colts going to be battling for the division, okay? And they don't play each other, and they have a pretty easy schedule.
So someone like Tennessee and the Colts are both going to stay there.
Okay, yeah. But if, say, the Colts slip up or, and lose a game or lose 2 games, or the Titans lose 2 games, and the Raiders don't lose, the Raiders are right there. The Raiders are right there.
Yeah, but the Raiders play the Colts next week.
Yes. So that's a huge game.
Miami in 2 weeks.
And they play Miami again. That's what I was looking at.
The Colts do, right?
No.
No.
The Raiders do.
The Raiders do.
schedule.
Okay, so the Raiders have their
Chargers.
they have
Miami,
their
Denver.
they have their future in their
They
hands.
still played Chargers and Denver though.
Right.
Chargers and the Broncos.
But if you beat the Colts,
yeah.
you have the tiebreaker against the Colts, and you have the same record.
Yes.
Okay, you're both going to be 8-5.
I don't want to go off the Vikings top. I'm just
Oh
saying
no,
the Raiders.
I have all this written down, but it's very interesting. The AFC battle for the playoffs is very interesting for the last couple seeds, but it's also, we said the NFC was set, and all of a sudden the Vikings are in, the Cards are out. Now the Cards have the Giants, Eagles, 49ers, and Rams left. Okay, and the Vikings have the Bucks, Bears, Saints, and Lions left. Yeah. I look at this as, what Vikings team you're going to get, especially the last few weeks. They've been playing, even when they lost to Dallas, they still played that game plan. So you know who you're going to get. You don't know what Cards team is going to show up. I mean, Kyler Murray was like one of 10 in the first quarter and a half in the game a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I know this is many weeks ago too, but when Dallas played the Cardinals, he was 1 for 12 in his first 12 passes, and we were up at halftime.
Yeah,
so I know that was weeks ago, but that's another small sign where even we played him. I went, this isn't the Vikings team I thought, and it's like they're boom, they're bust every week, and it's just like that's not going to win you. And if you're looking at the playoffs for the AFC and the NFC, the AFC has 10 teams competing for a spot.
Yeah.
Well, you have the locks of the Chiefs and Steelers, but you have 3 looking in right now, and then on the NFC side, you just have Arizona.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody after
Not
Arizona.
really, though, because you also have, like I mentioned earlier, you still have the NFC East. I know that one team's going to win the division, but the way that the Giants and the Who's-a-What's-its are playing right now, I don't know that I'd count them out. I
just think with Giants' schedule, I think with the Giants' schedule, if Washington somehow wins it, I still trust Arizona to do a little better.
Okay, so
with the talent they have.
So
who would you trust more, Arizona or Detroit?
Right now,
Arizona.
I mean,
I don't know.
What's
right,
Detroit's? We don't have Detroit's schedule up.
I can pull it
Detroit
up real
has
quick.
Has Green Bay, Tennessee, Tampa, Minnesota. That's a gauntlet.
That's
a gauntlet.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Now, here's the thing that I would say, though. Okay, I can see a scenario where the Cardinals go 2-2 to end the season. Okay, and that puts them at 8-8. Now, can the Giants and Washington go 3-1 and finish 8-8?
That could happen.
The Cardinals beat both of those teams, though, so they hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah, that's
so
what I'm
they
saying.
hold the tiebreaker. But Nate's scenario realistically isn't that off.
No. I was just going by my list saying more than likely his scenario can happen, but that's like scenario D. Like that's more of a pipe dream, but it can happen. That if that happened, I would lose my mind if both Giants and NFC, the Washington football team, both somehow made it in the playoffs. Oh, I'd love it personally.
Isn't it funny how at the beginning of the year, the first podcast that I did with you guys on the Pick'em week, we talked about how the Giants and the Washington football team are both, they're a year or two out from taking over the NFC East. Boy, what a year 2020 has been.
Yes.
I mean, who would have thought ever that this was how it's going to be? But I'm sitting here looking at the Cardinals schedule. Guys, I mean, they started 5-2. Since then, they're 1-4 in their last 5 games.
Yes. And that's why
their only win was a Hail Mary to Hopkins to beat Buffalo.
And I will say this, it does say something on how teams are playing right now. And if you're going to twist my arm, I'm going to say the Vikings and the Cardinals are going to battle for it, in that the NFC East isn't going to get 2 teams.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for both of you, though. Okay, because I've been saying this all season. Okay, and I did come back to earth and say Russell Wilson was a top 5 quarterback. Okay, but I have said that I didn't believe in Seattle all year. Seattle's 8-4. Okay, they're a game out of first. They've got the Jets, Washington, Rams, and 49ers.
They should go 3-1.
No, I see them maybe going 2-2. I think what happened against the Giants.
Realistically, could see them going 1-3.
I see what happened against the Giants being more of the way their team actually is, and I'm sorry, they're not very good. They are not very good
defensively, like we've said all year. When we said weeks ago, we said how good their offense was playing when he was MVP level, which right now he's not MVP level.
Not even close.
But when he was playing at MVP level, if you look at their games, their differential, I'm sure Nate can look it up, it was always 45-38. 45-38 games where their defense was allowing so many points. Maybe not that many points, but these were close games. That's what I'm saying. They were blowing out teams, but the other teams were scoring a lot too. So now, if Russell Wilson doesn't score every time he touches the ball, their defense is allowing the other team to score every time I've seen them play.
Yep. So
if you look at it,
and they also have 2 wins that they shouldn't. I mean, well, I hate it when Logan says they should have this, and I always say shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
They almost lost to the Patriots, and they almost lost to the Vikings.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, to your point of what you just said. Okay, this is from week 1. 38-25, 35-30, 38-31, 31-23, 27-26, 37-34, 37-27, 44-34, 23-16, 28-21, 23-17, 17-12.
I counted one game that was more than a touchdown there.
Yes.
Point differential.
And obviously I didn't say who won or lost or whatever, but they're coming down.
Yeah.
Like their offense.
Their defense is going to be the problem.
And I see Washington defense giving them fits.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't let Russ cook. Okay, I'm sorry. That's not how Seattle's built. That's not how. But Carson isn't healthy, and they don't have a good backup.
No.
Okay? I see a scenario where Seattle really needs to win. They have to beat the Jets. That has to be their one win. They have to be, finish at least 9-7. But I don't see them. The Rams, I think, will beat them again. The 49ers, again, are hurt and just not a shell of themselves. Yeah. And the Jets are just the Jets. Well,
but they do have Richard Sherman back, and Jason Verrett has been playing out of his mind this year. That's a really bad matchup, in my opinion, for Seattle wide receivers.
Yes.
Because Sherman, I'm sorry, I know he's older, but he will shut down DK Metcalf. And Verrett's fast enough to keep up with Lockett. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough matchup. I think that Seattle would win that game.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't want to go all the way back to the beginning and talk about Washington too much, but just know this when we're talking about the playoff hunt. Washington's defense came out the gate, dominated Philly, sacked Carson Wentz 8 times, just absolutely blew the doors off people. And then we gave up 30 points. We were not playing well. If you look at their last 7 games, their defense, now the Giants scored a touchdown in the second half, but it was a pick six, or it was off a fumble that Kyle Allen had. They gave up 0 second-half points to the Giants, 0 second-half points to the Cowboys, 3 second-half points to the Giants, 13 to the Lions, 0 to the Bengals, 3 to the Cowboys, 3 to the Steelers. They've only given up 1 second-half touchdown in the last 7 games.
Right, but to piggyback on that, Nate, how many of those games in the beginning of the season was because your defense was always on the field because Haskins couldn't do a damn thing?
Oh, I 100% agree with
So
you.
you say, we got better. I think what happened is offensively, you really just...
You found out that your quarterback wasn't good.
Right, and then
and our running back Gibson didn't know how to run the ball yet.
Right, and so I think that's where your defense got better is because your offense is staying on the field. So they're not tired, and they're not, playing from behind all the time.
And he didn't have Chase Young the first 3 or 4 games, right? He had an injury. He had a quad or core, some injury. I can't remember now, but
I think it's going to be very interesting coming down the stretch. I think the AFC South, is it the South? Yeah, South, with the Titans and the Colts battling it out. They don't play each other, and they both play the Jags and the Texans. I don't want to play the Texans right now. I really don't. It's just one of those things where this team is we've said it all year. Bill O'Brien, they didn't want to play for him. They're playing better. They're not going to blow the doors off of you.
No.
But Deshaun Watson is playing MVP football. And I want you guys to go and look at his stats because I mean that he's playing MVP football right now.
Yep.
And he lost his best wide receiver and it didn't matter.
No. He's about to lose Will Fuller too.
Well, that's his best wide receiver.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Hopkins from last year.
Oh no, well that's his best wide receiver this year.
This year, okay.
So the Texans is a team technically that I just don't want to play. Defensively, they're playing better. Yeah. Romeo Crennel's not their future coach, but I think they like him enough, and he's just saying, guys, just go play.
Just play football.
Just play football. Call it. You don't like the play, fix it.
Yeah.
Play football. And I think they're playing more free and everything, and I think that makes a big difference. But the Colts playing the Raiders, the Titans have to play the Packers, and the Colts have to play the Steelers. And they both play the Texans, and they both play the Jags. The Jags are fighting for the number 1 pick. They were happier than pigs in what.
Dude, let me just tell you something.
Hoping that they were going to get the number 1 pick with the Jets beating the Raiders.
Let me tell you, watching these games over the weekend, I saw the Jets leading at one point. Okay? I saw the Jags not really leading, but I was like, all right, whatever, Jags. I saw the Bengals at one point up 7-0. I saw these games, I was like, yo, Dallas. What if the Jets win and all these teams win, and now we're only 1 game out of the first pick? I was like, Dallas, are you watching this? And then everything happened. Jets lost, whatever.
Yeah, but the Jags went to overtime.
That's what I'm saying, man.
And so
I was like, it could happen.
But that's the thing. So you brought up the Cowboys, and I want to get Nate's take because I know I'm very harsh on the Ravens. I'm not biased on the Ravens. Okay. Mm-hmm. Last year they were 14-2, and I probably didn't say one good thing about them.
It's because me and you're both Nostradamus. We predicted this season already. We knew this was going to happen.
I see a problem for the Ravens, and I think it's definitely quarterback, and I think it's definitely injuries on the defense. But they haven't had an identity all year. And teams that don't have identities in the year, they don't finish above 500 or more. Their record is what the record is, and they win the games. But this is a game that I don't want to play if I'm the Ravens. Dallas.
And we took out the Vikings randomly. It could just be one of those situations. That's what I'm saying. All year, this is the only game I'm moderately excited about because I'm like, this is the game. Like, I would love us to keep losing and get a better draft pick, but at the same time, like, we could. This is an opportunity to go. We need to play better, and the Ravens are on a downswing right now, and they still have that hot streak saying they're still the Ravens. This is a big win for. I mean, Ravens need this win. They need this win more than we do.
If they don't win, what is the?
They're 6-5.
They're 6-5, so they'd be 6-6, but they'd be below the Patriots.
Yep, they'd be down below the Patriots.
And then so that means they'd have to jump not only the Patriots,
the Patriots win over the Chargers was an AFC win. This is going to be an NFC loss for the Ravens. So this only helps the Patriots even more winning their own conference. So,
but do you guys believe in Dallas enough to beat a Ravens team that has been coddled for the last 2 weeks?
No. We're leading the league in IR. I don't trust it. Just everyone's dead on the team. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the last couple of weeks we've had players play out of their minds. Donovan Wilson, safety, was playing a monster. Diggs had a great game last week. I just don't trust it if you're asking me. I think the Ravens will find a way to win, but this is one of those games where Dallas may just figure it out and just run the hell out of Zeke, and Zeke finds a way. I don't know. Just we're not healthy, and I'm not trying to blame it on health. I don't like to do that, but if you look at the teams, like we were talking about the NFC East earlier, you look at the two healthiest teams other than Saquon being gone. Like the Reds, the Washington football team has a good amount of health right now. They're playing out of their minds. Mm-hmm. Giants are playing out of their minds. They don't have a lot of IR. But the two most injured teams is the Eagles and the Cowboys, and they were both the favorites of the division. So now I think about it like, what if Dallas gets healthy for next year with another top pick? Eagles find out maybe Hurts is their guy, and they get all healthy again. These four teams have kind of bright futures still for a few years, because if you look at it with Dallas, like, I don't think they're a terrible team. I think they have an identity problem, but as soon as your starting star quarterback goes out, you don't know who the hell you are no more. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been...
I think Dallas could re-sign Dak, or they could get the best. They could end up with the number one pick and get Trevor Lawrence and still be 8-8. Your defense has so many holes.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Trayvon Diggs is playing much better.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I don't trust either of your safeties. Your linebackers, in my opinion, are incredibly overrated. Jalen Smith is god-awful against the pass. He's a great tackling machine, but do you really want that out of your linebacker who's supposed to be decent in coverage?
Well, the problem is...
Van Der Esch is good side to side, but he's always hurt.
Well, the problem is if we played a defense that had more of a bandit position like some college teams do, where he's more of a fingers in the dirt kind of linebacker and doesn't go into coverage, it'd be fine. But it almost, to me, looks like, I know it sounds like a joke, but you have all these defensive players, but you're running the wrong scheme for who you have. It just seems like something's
you're running a 4-3. You should be a 3-4.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It just doesn't feel right. And that 1-4 middle line, that one linebacker should be Jalen Smith blitzing off the edge. Yeah. It doesn't feel right to me. Something's broken on the defense.
Your defensive linemen aren't big enough to take on double teams.
No.
So those two linebackers are getting hit by offensive linemen. And so I think that puts you behind the eight ball. So you're running the wrong personnel.
If we don't
have the
defense,
right personnel to play the defense you're playing.
If we don't fix the defense with some players and actually get the right scheme in there and get a decent defensive coordinator in there, I don't care how great Dak looks next year with Zeke and all the guys, because we could still have another 4,000 passing yard year. The fact is, like Nate said, he said it perfectly, we're still going to be 8-8 because for the last 4 years, we've been terrible on the defensive side of the ball, and it's not getting better. We let Chris Richards walk for what reason, I don't know.
That being said, with the amount of injuries that the Ravens have on defense, Lamar not practicing for 2 weeks, okay, and supposedly playing tonight. There's no Andrews. There's no Mark Andrews isn't playing. I think it's Mark Andrews. No Ingram. Now J.K. Dobbins is playing. J.K. Dobbins could have a good game, but we all know without a tight end, Lamar's not hitting anybody.
No.
Okay, and
Hollywood Brown doesn't know how to run a route.
No, he knows how to run straight. He does the DK Metcalf route very well. Shout out to Logan. But like it's one of those things where I do see a scenario where the Ravens do not win tonight. Like they are that dysfunctional. Where they could lose to an even more dysfunctional team in the Cowboys.
I mean, and if you look at it, we've allowed a lot of yards and a lot of points the past couple weeks. But if you look at it, you have Amari Cooper with almost double-digit catches the past couple games. Gallup is still... Personally, for me, I think he's great.
Is he playing still?
Personally, for me, Gallup should be trade bait to somebody because I just don't think that offense feeds three people. But then you have CeeDee Lamb getting catches, Schultz getting catches. You don't know what you're doing with the running backs because your line's really beat up. But overall, the offense is moving the ball. Past couple games, we missed 2 or 3 field goals a game, so that doesn't help. Again, it feels like last year. But we're moving the ball enough to where we're like, okay, Dalton's doing okay. Like you don't trust him, but at this point. You don't trust the Ravens either. These are two bad teams. I think Dallas is a bad team, and I think the Ravens are a good team who's a bad team who's pretending to play better than they are.
Okay,
and that's
so-
the problem tonight is you have two teams who don't know who they are.
So let me ask you guys this question. If the Ravens make the playoffs, do they win a wild card game?
No, absolutely
No.
not. No, they're going to be
I don't care
0-3.
who they play.
It doesn't matter if you look if they're in the wild
They'll
card.
be a
Look at
7 seed, so they're going to play the Steelers or the Chiefs.
Steelers and Chiefs both have a bye week, wouldn't they?
No. Only one of them does.
team does.
Okay, so yeah, if
whoever's
they're going to be the
two-
7th seed, they're going to play. Yeah, Steelers or Chiefs, and the only one I could see them potentially winning. I know it sounds dumb. Is it's just the Steelers Ravens rivalry? I could just see a scenario there where they beat the hell out of each other, like like Dallas and the Redskins do back in the day.
I
But
agree with that.
If I'm them, there's no chance. Like I don't want to play the Bills. I'd almost want to be the 7th seed. I don't want to play the Bills. I don't want to play the Titans. And I damn sure don't want to play the Browns.
So then you go into year 3 of Lamar Jackson. Okay?
They're
And
gonna-
what happens in year 3 of every first-round pick quarterback?
Wait,
Are you going to extend him? Are
Yeah.
you going to give him that 5th year? Are you going to extend him? Are you going to give him an extended contract?
Wait, but is he go back to next year? Is his 4th year?
Yeah.
No, next year's his 4th year in the league.
Okay,
what I'm saying.
so that starts this offseason.
That's what I'm saying.
So
They have to decide this year if they're gonna do a 5th year option.
they're gonna give him a 5th year, and I bet they re-sign him. That's what
I
the
would give
Ravens
him a
do.
5th year, and I wouldn't sign him yet.
No. I would give him a 5th year, and I would look at figuring out and start bringing in instead of run blocking linemen, I'd start bringing pass blocking linemen and get that McSorley kid some snaps. Why not? You got to see what you got because your whole offense is built off the run right now, but you're not even utilizing the run right. You have 3 running backs that deserve to be freed, and you're not using any of them.
I will tell you.
especially
I will
Dobbins.
tell you this: the decision on to extend him or not. Okay, like to give it. Like they'll. I agree. I think they'll give him the 5th year.
I do too.
Okay, but the decision to extend him or not is career make or
is.
break for Harbaugh and their GM DaCosta.
100%.
Absolutely, I agree with you. This is going to be a decision that the Ravens will make that we're going to talk about a decade from now, 2 decades from now, like the big trade with Dallas back in the 90s to get everybody they did. It's going to be something you still talk about, saying,
Yeah.
look what the Ravens
But-
did, and this is why.
And the only thing he has going for him, I was unanimous MVP.
Oh,
I was
Jesus.
unanimous MVP. Now,
I know.
again, like you say, OJ, I roll when I say that.
Yeah.
But the thing is can you? Your fan base isn't stupid. Like the Ravens fan base, they're just like every fan base. They think their team is better
Of
than
course.
what it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
but
think they're stupid, but
yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Some of them recently have been.
but they won't
Yeah.
put up with mediocre. They're not
No.
going to put up with 8-8.
No, they're not.
They're not, and they're going to call for somebody's head. And my thing is
because
this:
ever since they've been a franchise, they've been a winning franchise.
exactly, and you can't. And my thing is this: is the first person that goes, unfortunately, is the coach. And I tell you what, I would love to have Jim Harbaugh as my coach.
I'd love to have Jim Harbaugh replace McCarthy too. I'm not going to lie.
You know, and I think he's a hell of a coach.
I do like Zach Taylor though. Real talk. I think he's going to be okay.
I think
for now.
so. This is going to sound weird coming from a Washington football team fan, but I'm actually hoping, praying Dallas wins tonight because it'll do 2 things that I'm really going to enjoy. One, it's going to make
Calm down, Stephen A. Smith.
Ravens. It's going to make Ravens fans really, really upset, which I always find hilarious.
Yep.
2, it's going to make Cowboys fans completely delusional, which happens every time. And it's going to move their draft pick out of the top 5, which is just absolutely hilarious to me.
Hey, I'm just glad the Bengals are still going to get that number 1 left tackle.
You guys will get
Most
up and
likely,
take somebody
'cause
else.
Quarterback is going to be 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's why Bengals are number 3.
You guys will end up taking somebody stupid.
No, that's
No,
one
they're
thing the
taking-
Bengals.
No, I know.
You
I
know,
don't know if you watched the Miami highlights. That dude, when there was a bench clearing brawl, the Cincinnati Bengals O-line was doing what they always do and not protecting anybody sitting on the bench.
I wasn't going to get up. I'm not getting up either. If I'm 300 pounds and I'm on a 2-win team, I'm like, you know what? You guys do you.
No. If those 2 quarterbacks do go 1 and 2, the Bengals have no choice but to take this kid, the Sewell, whatever his name is from Oregon, because if you don't, all you're doing is telling your entire fan base that the quarterback you spent your whole career trying to get in your perfect number 1 spot, you don't care about him because that's why he got hurt.
Yep. But I will say this: if there's a who's the linebacker in Tampa Bay?
Micah Parsons.
Parsons.
out of,
But who's the linebacker
Penn
in
State.
Tampa Bay? was drafted 2
Devin
years.
White.
Devin
Devin
White,
White.
or a Bush from Pittsburgh.
Yes.
If there's that kind of
And Micah Parsons is going to be top
defensive,
5.
Defensive player in the draft, I might be like, okay, this is something to think about. Where if, say, for some reason the quarterbacks don't go 1-2,
Or for some reason,
and you have
Jets
the fifth, you can trade down to the 5th pick and make it arguably say, hey, the top linebacker's there, and you want that will make your defense 100 times better.
I know we're sitting here having this hypothetical. I love hypotheticals. Hypothetically speaking, if you look at the last game, there's a chance that the Jets might actually like Sam Darnold. I know that sounds crazy, but there's a chance they could take that kid at number 1, that tackle.
I tell you what, I like
If
Sam
that
Darnold.
happens, they are literally proving to everybody that they are the most inept, stupid franchise in the NFL.
I understand. No, I get it because of the
Maybe in
position.
all of sports.
Because of the
Here's the
position
thing.
they're in,
Here's
but
the
I don't
thing.
think Sam Darnold's that bad of a quarterback. But Lawrence
I
is
don't
that
think
guy.
he is either, but you don't pass up.
You can get a 2nd or 3rd round pick for Sam Darnold.
I know.
And build.
Yeah.
But it is
Sam Darnold to the Washington football team?
If I'm Jacksonville,
No, thank you.
Do I take Fields?
I don't.
Do I take the kid from North Dakota?
Probably not him.
I think Trey Lance is so overhyped.
Right,
I mean,
but-
if I'm
or-
Jackson, I think Jacksonville would have to take Fields.
Yeah.
Because they clearly don't believe in Minshew. Mike Glennon definitely ain't. Lutton is a nobody. I mean, they've got decent wide receivers. Chark's not bad.
Hey,
Jalen
Jacksonville
Bolt's
should
not
just
bad.
reach.
Laviska Shenault is good. James Robinson's
Jacksonville should reach.
They have 2 young tackles. I mean,
They should reach and take Trask.
Yeah.
That's the quarterback I would
don't do
want.
that.
That's the quarterback I would want.
I'm
You guys
praying
ain't
for
getting
in the
him.
second round.
But some interesting things to talk about. The weekend's tonight, and we're going to be talking about this for weeks to come. This is next week, I think, is the week where you have some teams playing each other, where you're going to see some movement and some interesting talk coming up.
It's going to be the make or break it next 2 or 3 weeks.
It's playoff football at this point in the game.
It's always playoff football 3 weeks early.
Yep. So, but with that being said, Nate, thank you for coming on and joining us on short notice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it was a
Thank you so
blast.
much. Thank
Always.
you for letting me into the playoffs in our Wet Duty League with that phenomenal upset victory I pulled.
Not a problem.
Shout out Malik for losing for me.
I purposely sat Kiki Cootie and put in Shepard for you.
Hey, Shepard didn't play bad, though.
No, 1 catch for 22 yards.
3 points, baby.
Hey, he had like 33% of all air yards for the Giants.
So, but you're welcome. I hope I can repay the favor and whoop your ass in the playoffs because I got a 1st round bye. But we'll see you soon, and go Washington.
Yeah, man.
All
Thank
right.
you guys again.
It was good.
You guys have a good night.
All right,
Have
you
a
too.
good one, man.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. So that being said, I just want to do one shout out.
Yeah.
I want to do, unfortunately, a rest in peace to a really, really good friend of mine. He's my brother from another mother, Mike.
We had him on the show 1 week, right?
Yep. And he lost his brother-in-law, Peter, this week. And Peter was battling cancer, and he unfortunately lost that battle. We all gained an angel. He was a badass. He was a funny man, but he had a big heart. He loved his kids. I just want to give a shout out to Mike and just let Mike know that we're thinking of him. And, that being said, everybody have a good week.
Yeah, shout out, Mike. I don't know your brother-in-law, but we're always here for you, man. Other than that, guys, have a great night, and go Cowboys.